Coming up on this episode of Nothing to Bring.
We reflect on that tweet of a boy receiving detention after taking a bottle of water, Mossbourne Academy refusing to say sorry after the independent safeguarding review, and Whitefield School's treatment of children. We talk about Sam Neill, the series we are watching, and Matt stating he doesn't have time to do shorts because he's been playing 55 hours of Planet Coaster.
I'm Matt Morris.
I'm Sarah Johnson, and we have...
To bring.
As
Nailed.
we finished that, we did nail that. As we did it, my chair just rolled to the right as well, so I just kind of went off camera in a weird way.
Brilliant. That's the first time we've nailed it, first time ever.
How many episodes?
I think this is episode 16.
Perfect. That's it. Smashed it. There's no getting better now.
For those of you starting out in your own podcast, it's around episode 16 that you nail the intro for the first time without any discussion and without any rehearsal. Normally we have to write it down.
Yeah, we do. I can't remember if I just spoke to you about this or put it on last week's podcast. I don't remember hearing it on the podcast, but nearly half of all podcasts never make it past the first 3 episodes. So we're doing really well. Very happy about that.
You saw that and sent that to me in a picture because it was in a studio you were in, if I recall.
Yeah, so I was recording training for an organisation about social, emotional, mental health. The studio is often used for podcasting. I had a little poster. But those shows that reach around 30 episodes or more are in the top 1% for longevity. So we've got a few more to go, but we're halfway there.
Yep.
And on average, it takes about 2 years and 100 episodes before podcasters see results, and most quit before that point. So I would really like to not quit because I really want to see this podcast be successful. And we had over 70 views last week, which is about 20 more than we normally have. So I was really pleased about it.
It picked up last week. Can I just point out, though, in the maths there, what you've referred to is 2 years, 100 episodes. That's based on an episode a week, isn't it, if you think about it?
Yeah.
So, we've got 4 years to go, or 3.5 years to go.
Oh, it's quite a long time.
Lock in, everyone.
Well, we have to, we have to stay being friends for that duration. But also, there has to be enough news and education, which I'm sure there will be. But also, we have to have enough geeky interest to sustain the first half of it. But I think I swap my interest quite regularly, so we should be okay.
Can I just take you back to the start of that sentence? We have to remain friends. Now, is there any reason why we wouldn't be? Are you planning anything that you need to let me in on?
Well, how many years have we been friends already?
I reckon we've known each other for the best part of about 8 or 9 years. 9 years.
Okay.
8 years, 9 years, yeah. So we've known each other for that long.
Time, isn't it?
It is. You say that like it's a long time. Time for a change.
Long time I've put up with you.
Exactly. Each other. I remember something from last episode because I messaged you about it afterwards. So we were talking about something and I said, we spoke about it on the episode. And you said, did we? And I said, yeah, I'm sure we did. And then I edited the episode and you listened to it. And I said, if you listen, we don't talk about it. Because I tried to talk about it and then you hijack the conversation.
No, it was about Ghostbusters and it was about inappropriate scenes in Ghostbusters. And would you show them to your children? We spoke about it and I even quoted it and I thought you was going to pull that sentence for an episode title and you didn't and I was surprised. Or thought that maybe because you have your career, thinking of your career.
Yeah, I'm not going to refer to Ghosts and Blowjobs for, episode title. Anyway, that wasn't the conversation. The conversation, that was what we were planning to talk about. That was absolutely something we talked about the week before. We were going to talk about it. What films would you not let your children watch now? We didn't actually get that far into that conversation because there were loads of other things we talked about. But that conversation started by me saying, I'm currently watching, and it's a bit scary. You're not really into your horror, are you, Sarah? And then you went off down a rabbit hole, which led us into the conversation you thought we were about to have.
So, Matt, I apologise. Sincerely.
I'm not after an apology.
Would you like to talk about the TV series that you're watching?
Yes, I would. Thank you very much.
What TV series are you watching?
Well, we've finished it now, actually. So the TV shoot...
Because it took so long to talk about it.
Yeah, it took us so long to get to it. So the TV series that we watched is on Netflix. And I forget the title because I always leave words out of it. So it's Something Very Bad is About to Happen, I believe is the title. And the premise is that it is a young couple who are heading to the guy's parents' home because they're getting married in 5 days. She's never really met the family, but it's very eerie. It has this real weird undertone about it right from the outset. And as I said to you, it's not really a horror. It's more sort of thriller, but it has this really strange eeriness to it. Kind of the visuals, the tone, it reminded me of a film I mentioned to you, which is called Ready or Not, which is the Samara Weaving film where she gets married into this family where they play games, and the game that she ends up picking out of a random out of a deck of cards is basically a hunt where they have to hunt her down and kill her. So having just been married into it, it's a dark comedy. It's really good. It's a little bit kind of gory, which I know is not really your thing, but dark comedy, gory, kind of something slightly different about that. And the sequel's just come out on Disney Plus as well. So watch the sequel now to that. The sequel is even more pulpy and campy. The film, yes. So the film that the TV series reminds me of. So the Ready or Not and Ready or Not 2. But the sequel, Ready or Not 2, or Ready or Not Here I Come, depends where you are. It's more pulpy, it's more campy, and it's a little bit more over the top. But it's got Sarah Michelle Gellar, it's got Elijah Wood. They bring in additional big faces for it. So that's really good. But the series, Something Very Bad is About to Happen, I would really, really recommend it. It's what I really like about it. Yeah. What I'd say is it's not that sort of gory, bloody fest that you hate until the final episode, which is an absolute bloodbath. And that avoids spoilers, because what you get at the very beginning of the first episode is some flashbacks, which are actually flash forwards, sort of montage style, which you see lots of blood, and then you never really see anything like that. But it is quite unnerving at times. What you realise is what's unnerving about it is not what's really going on. So the whole premise of this family that she's never met, they're all a bit weird and quirky. There's a slight red herring in all of that.
Okay.
But I'd recommend it if you like a good kind of weird, eerie thriller with a bit of horror thrown in.
So I do like things like The Returned, which is a really interesting series. I don't know if you've seen that.
I've not. You've mentioned it to me before, but
yeah.
Again,
so Returned is really interesting. It has that kind of dark undertone as well, and it's not quite horror, it's not quite thriller, I don't know if there's a kind of sweet spot in the middle. That's very good. But also, I'm not going to take your recommendations of series until you've watched a series that I've recommended to you and you haven't watched it yet.
It's so long.
They're long.
So long. So I could recommend another one. Which did I mention The Boroughs?
No.
So The Boroughs, it's a Netflix. Again, it's a little bit strange and eerie, sort of supernatural, but it's not horror at all.
Okay.
It's just very weird. As I say, bit of supernatural about it, but it's just done really, really well. Very, very popular. Fantastic cast. And they've cancelled series 2. And no one can explain why.
Have you seen Kaos? I'm just thinking about series that have been cancelled too.
This is the Goldblum
Jeff
isn't
Goldblum.
It? Yeah. I've not. I mean to, because I do love Jeff Goldblum. Jeff
Goldblum's brilliant. It's really good. I sort of sit there on Wikipedia looking at Greek mythologies and some of the kind of stories behind it, because it's really interesting. It's really very, very good. And I also love it because it has the character Persephone, and Persephone is one of the names of, if I had more girls, there would have been a Persephone, I think, in there. I really love the name.
See you with the Persephone. That goes with your name set. Now,
I like it.
we can't talk about Jeff Goldblum without talking about Jurassic Park and then Sam Neill, because we had the sad news that on the day of recording this, that Sam Neill has passed away. And that's really, really sad, because Jurassic Park is one of my go-to great films of all time. And he is a big part of why that's successful. But he's one of those actors that is so versatile and so great in everything. And again, go back to horror. There's really, really gory, scary horror, which is called Event Horizon. Many years ago, we'll go over 20 years ago, with Sam Neill as one of the lead protagonists. Fantastic. Weird that he's in it because he's such a wonderful character actor, but he pops up in this as well. But yeah, superb. And that's really, really sad. And we talked about Jurassic Park, didn't we? Because you said you didn't watch it till your 30s.
Yeah, I didn't watch it till really late. So my family didn't really have a strong kind of film watching culture at all. So like now, I think we do. We watch lots of different films, but my family's in my mum. Didn't really watch films as a family.
I was obsessed with Jurassic Park. I was obsessed with the dinosaurs. I guess I was probably about 14, 15. I was obsessed with the dinosaurs. I was obsessed with the design in film. It was quite out there in terms of new techniques for filmmaking, from animatronics and CGI, just to bring that world to life. So, and it was Spielberg.
And it's funny, isn't it? Because actually it still feels like a really new film, and actually it's 30 years old.
Yeah, when you 1993, I believe, I could have got that wrong, but I think it's 1993. When you look back at films and you see what stands the test of time.
Yeah.
Park stands the test of time because it's innovative, it's funny, it's got a fantastic cast. Two people we've mentioned, but other people. It's got Samuel L. Jackson at the start of his career, which I think people often forget about as well. It's got some really great pop culture references as well. My favourite, which blows people's mind, by the way, there is a character called Dennis Nedry. Dennis Nedry is the IT guy who is stealing the embryos from Jurassic Park, and he gets killed by a Dilophosaurus that attacks him as he's trying to escape the island with those embryos. There are 3 key outfits that he wears in that film. He is dressed as 3 different characters from the Goonies during Jurassic Park.
Really?
Really.
How do you notice that, or do you just research that online and you find the Easter egg?
I've known this for years, and then however many years later, 30 odd years later, you're saying this to people and it still blows their mind because, well, how do I not know that?
Well, I wouldn't know. I'm useless at remembering things. There's no way I would.
Every film is layered with references, whether you know that or not. The bigger films are layered with more kind of elaborate and fantastic references. It's a big thing in filmmaking to pay homage or to layer things in it. Disney films, I don't know if this will blow your mind or not, but there are Disney animations which have got images drawn into the back of them that may or may not be quite provocative or suitable for a family audience.
Not noticed that.
So,
tell me which ones to look at.
So, this is one of the films you like, The Rescuers.
I love The Rescuers.
In The Rescuers, in the background of The Rescuers, I'm now bordering into whether I get this right or wrong, because I could be right. But you know what? What I'll do is I'll bring a little thing up on the screen that says...
Yeah, just go, I'm wrong here. But if you are wrong, make sure you advertise that you're wrong and people get in the comments and shout at you.
Sure, absolutely. If I'm wrong, please come and tell me I'm wrong. But in The Rescuers, I'm going to give you a couple. In The Rescuers, as they are flying across the city, in the background in a window, there is a naked lady.
Brilliant.
The other one, don't ask me how I know this. I have known this since the release of the film, and it was very famous at the time of the release of the film. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Yeah.
I mean, that's already appropriate, but yeah.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit? There is a bit in Who Framed Roger Rabbit where Benny the Cab is coming out of Toontown with Jessica Rabbit, I guess Bob Hoskins' character, in the car. And they slide in dip, which is the chemical which erases the... And because Benny slides in the dip, they get thrown out of the car. And as Jessica Rabbit spins out of the car with her legs open, you can see everything up her skirt.
How are we going to not edit that out or edit?
I think we keep that in because that's a conversational piece and people can say whether it's right or wrong.
Now I feel wrong going to look and find out. I feel caught.
In what way? This is what people do. Okay, there are much simpler ones. Okay, so like the Goonies reference in
why are all the ones
Park,
that you said are all naked people?
I didn't. I said that in Disney cartoons, there is a history of putting, quite naughty things in the background. I started by telling you that Dennis Nedry is dressed as 3 characters from, that was quite simple. But it goes to show you the lengths that people go to put things. A lot of it is, there are so many Easter eggs. We talked about Master of the Universe a couple of times over the last couple of episodes. There's Highlander references. There's references to Master of the Universe itself. But there's references to other pop culture too. It's become part of the fun and fabric of filmmaking to include other references within it. It's that reaction that filmmakers want. I spotted that. I saw that. Did you know?
Yeah.
Because
so you got a secret message within it.
Yeah, because when you add to the layering of a film, you create more discourse, you create more excitement around it. So if you're known as a filmmaker who does that, people come to watch your films to see the things that throughout. Spielberg does it throughout a lot of his films. There's references to all of his films, across all of them. And don't forget, Spielberg is a producer as well as a director. So some of that, The Goonies, which he didn't direct, he actually created the story for The Goonies, and then he was the executive producer. So there are lots of references between films that he's been involved in, not just as a director. And that's just one person. Imagine that across the cinema landscape. Anywho, so that's, there you are. I will, just going back to TV series, and I did write this down actually, because I felt it was necessary to take a sort of a detour from Jeff Goldblum to Jurassic Park and to recognise Sam Neill. The thing I was thinking of though, just before you said that, because I've said about a really popular TV program, a TV series on Netflix has been cancelled. You've just referred to the fact that Chaos is cancelled. Lots of television drama, whether it's comedy, whether it's dark comedy, whether it's serious, it's getting cancelled quite quickly on streaming platforms in favour of what seems like a massive growth in documentary.
Loads of crime documentaries, loads and loads.
Yeah.
Too many. I quite like crime documentaries, but
I do.
It's now the same things being hashed over and over again. It's not really giving you new information.
No, and unfortunately, the quality is getting poorer and poorer. Yeah. So I studied documentary form at university. And when you look at the sorts of texts that you read, when you are learning about the different forms of documentary and the different styles, and then you look at the tripe that is just listed on streaming platforms, they don't even compare. And we have tried to start watching. I'm a huge true crime fan, as you know.
Or as
we
your
do
wife
like
said,
watching
crime.
Yeah. So a huge crime fan, not a fan of crime.
It.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's why it needs to be called true crime. Because if you say I'm a fan of crime, you need to have some differentiation there, don't you? But anyway, I'm a fan of true crime. I'm a fan of those documentaries. So we will work our way through lots of this. And I listen to a lot of true crime podcasts and therefore have watched a lot of the documentaries that followed. And some of them are absolutely fine. But there's like a documentary now for everything. And I was just flicking through this evening to find a new program to watch. And it was like, do you want to watch this documentary about this footballer? This documentary about this footballer? This documentary about this? It's like, no, I'm not interested in any of those footballers. I have an interest in football. I have an interest in a particular football club, but I don't want to watch all of these things. And it is just documentary after documentary after documentary of the same old stuff. And now there is a trend on social media where people sit down uncomfortably in a chair in the middle of a framed shot. And the caption is me preparing for my Netflix documentary about this awkward thing or that problem. It's like, come on, you can do better than that. Because actually you're not parodying anything. You're referring to the very thing that has become really, really poor.
I think there's a lack of, I think we spoke about it before, but kind of journalistic integrity around. And I think partly it's because of social media and how quickly things move on social media. So you almost have to push something out quickly without necessarily being able to do due diligence around it. I think that was it. We were talking about theatre reviews. So I write theatre reviews after I've seen a production on my Substack. And I read some of the theatre reviews and it's like, there's no skill involved at all. It's absolute tripe. There is no artistic quality. And I think I read mine as a non-professional and feel that it could absolutely compete against those that are in newspapers and things like that. Really poor.
Journalism has been completely eroded because of social media. You think of all the different categories of things that you would read around. So my feeds are made up generally of theme park content, video game content, film and media content, Lego, toys, Transformers, all the sort of geeky things that I regularly talk about. Okay, that forms my social media feeds. But regularly, I will get an article that says this is happening in the world of theme parks. Disney have finally broken their silence on this massive expansion. And then you read the article and it's like, well, there's a lot of speculation about what they're actually going to build there. They've just knocked a bit of land out. They've knocked a building down, but nobody really knows what they're going to build. So the article itself is pure speculation. Yet the headline is Disney have finally broken their silence on what this is. And it's like,
no, I haven't.
This has got something. Yeah, and then what you realise is you want to just go, come on, this is absolute lies. But every time you do that, you're giving that person who's made up the lies money.
Yeah. It's just clickbait, isn't it? It's all about the clicks and getting people to comment and things, and it's just tripe. But
it's
on that note of social media, and I was fairly reticent about referring to it, but I thought lots of people in education are referring to it, and I was going to make sure I didn't use the child's name as well. So just for context, Mum on X posts that her son got a detention. That's the kind of main point. And it was on sports day. He took 2 bottles of water instead of 1, and he was asked to put it back. He ran off. So the original tweet is, as I said, taking out the kid's name. My son's school excelled themselves this week. 40-minute detention for taking 2 free bottles of water during sports day in 34 degrees heat. Consequence issued for not respecting others. And then It's a screenshot of the schools. Pupil took more than one bottle of free water at sports day, and when asked to put them back, he ran off. So it's quite interesting, the kind of same event. So from the mum's perspective, it's a 40-minute detention. There's free water anyway, and it's 34 degrees. You know, that kind of heat, thirst, and disproportionality. I don't think you actually find out from the tweet how old this child is, by the way. Although I suspect if it's detention, I suspect secondary. The school's version is took more than one, asked to put it back, then run off. So kind of ignoring an instruction. And I think there's two bits of it that really interest me about it. Is one is a mum has posted about her son getting a detention. She posted her son's name, and it's gone all over the internet as well. So thinking about the child's kind of privacy. And I suppose it's something that you might have done. You might have messaged your own mum or your husband or whatever, the dad, and said, this is ridiculous, but it wouldn't have had that kind of whole kind of quality of life of its own. The other part is, so some teachers are saying, absolutely right, he disrespected the rules, needs to be kind of have a consequence for it. And other people's are like, it's just a bottle of water. Honestly, I'm kind of indifferent about it. I presume the school's got their reason. I get that mum's annoyed. She could probably picked up the phone and had a conversation with the school rather than put it on social media. Is it that big a deal? Probably not. Is the fact that it's been tweeted thousands and thousands and thousands of times an issue to the extent she's had to lock down her account? Probably. So yeah, thoughts, Matthew?
The issue here is, we talked about this last episode. The issue here is the problem we have with communication, with complaint culture, with people thinking that everything has to go somewhere else, that they don't follow complaints within schools, that it has to be on social media. This would not be a problem if it wasn't on social media, first and foremost. If you're going to put it out there, especially if you're going to put it on Twitter or X. Now, I didn't know about this because I don't use that platform anymore. I know about it because you told me about it earlier today, so I had to do a quick little search up on
do some research.
I did some research.
And Matt did some research. Well done.
You heard it first here. That was the first time I've done any research for this podcast. So I did look that story up, and I looked up, not on that platform, by the way, on a different platform, I did look at discourse around the circumstances. We also had a conversation last time about this sort of thing does not happen outside of our profession. We don't have a doctor where we said, if you're not happy with what the doctor says, you go and get a second opinion. You don't write a complaint about what they've told you because you disagree with it. And that's where we are as a profession. So we've got to that point.
Years ago, I had a lot of foot pain. This is years and years ago. And I think I put on X the other day, like a picture of me quite overweight. So I used to weigh 8 or 9 stone more than what I do. And I went to doctors about my foot pain. He said, I can tell you what the problem is. You're too fat and your feet are too small. And I said, I knew that before I got here. And I probably would have posted something on Facebook about that. So, and I would have complained about his bedside manner, which was absolutely shocking. It was true. Like, there was no point in me getting a second opinion, but there's a way of delivering it, isn't there?
But that's one person. Again, that's one doctor with poor bedside manner. We're talking about an entire profession here where the go-to is to take your gripes to anybody other than the person who can deal with it. And it's the scattergun approach of social media, Ofsted, local authorities, Lado, anybody who we think will listen or individuals think will listen, but who aren't actually that interested in the main. Again, like I said, we probably need a whole episode on complaints and dealing with it because I feel I could talk about it for hours, but coming back to this particular case, you said you're indifferent about it. The issue here is nothing to do with free water. The issue here is failure to follow a reasonable instruction given by a teacher in a school, and actually the nature of the response. It wasn't just to say no, it was to run off, presumably with the other bottle.
With the bottle, throwing it behind him.
Okay, so I appreciate the bottle is free. But let's now put that into a shop. Because
other children, you've ordered a certain amount of water.
Well, you've taken something away from another child there, haven't you?
One of the quotes from Reddit was, perhaps the teacher should have worded the report a bit differently. Focus on failure to follow instructions.
Exactly.
Not sharing and showing kindness, disrespecting school property without risking parents going on a rant about kids' access to water. And I suppose because it's front-loaded with the water rather than fail to follow instruction. But then it gives, I don't know, because fail to follow instructions can mean a whole host of things, can't it, really?
I appreciate if you go into a shop and something's for sale, it's different because it would be theft. We walked into a supermarket the other day where they had, it was quite cool in the supermarket, but they had bottled water on a table at the front that you could help yourself to.
That's really nice.
If you wanted it as you went round, and we didn't necessarily, but because it was still quite cool and
maybe the kids should have had some.
But if somebody had walked over there and just helped themselves to the lot, a security guard would have gone over and said, "No, look, put them down."
Yeah, there is a kind
of
boundary there, isn't it? Yeah,
exactly. So you're indifferent. Why isn't the boundary here for the child?
I think why I'm indifferent is because I think we can escalate situations by dialoguing on X. And actually, the reality is the kid's got a detention or doesn't have a detention. The kid's got the water or doesn't have the water. Doesn't actually have that much impact. And I suppose we're really talking about that. And there's two other things I want to talk about, which should get our ire a lot more, that actually should be our focus rather than the kid getting attention, not feeling like the mum is supporting the school or whatever. And, it's indicative of how parents feel about schools. And then I hear these safeguarding issues, one of which we've spoken about before, but the other one we haven't. So that's why I'm indifferent. So the two issues are, one is about Mossbourne and one is about the school Whitefield. Now, we've already spoken about Mossbourne before. So Mossbourne Victoria Park Academy is based in Hackney in London, and it's a flagship trust. I remembered when it was set up years ago, long celebrated for lifting disadvantaged, mostly black and global majority pupils. So really kind of making sure that they're gaining access to a real kind of positive educational experience. But December 2025, there was an independent safeguarding review which substantiated a climate of fear. So routine shouting to humiliate, desking, which was putting the children in corridors, and black boys and children were saying disproportionately sanctioned. And I think what's quite interesting about that is most recently they were sort of hauled up in front of the council and there was 3 refusals to apologise. The answer is no, we're not going to get into apology politics. We won't respond to the experiences. We will respond to the recommendations, as is normal in any public review. And another one is the school made no apology for being strict. And then what you call desking is restorative. So you have that, and there's complaints about children being so fearful to ask to use the toilet that they menstruated through their clothing, they urinated themselves as well. And then the other cases, which is upsetting but in a different way, is a special school in Waltham Forest, again London, about 6 miles away from Mossbourne, where there was a padded, locked, windowless seclusion room used on 38 pupils with complex needs. And there was 500 hours of CCTV that later surfaced to show the children being dragged by their arms, pulled and slammed into doors and pushed by staff into the room. And then the children's distress, vulnerability and unmet safeguarding needs become effectively invisible to those working with the school environment on a daily basis. So that's why I'm indifferent about a child taking a bottle of water and getting a detention, because we have children menstruating through clothing, urinating themselves, children with learning disabilities, where only today there's another, and I haven't actually put this on my show notes, but another report that says about the average age of adults dying with learning disabilities being to their kind of cohort without those needs. And I think these are the things that we should be really angry about. These are the things that we should be focusing on, not whether or not a kid runs away with a bottle and whether or not they should get a detention. It's easy work. We can sort that out. These are more systematic issues. Well, I've made it really dark, haven't I?
No, I agree with you. It's that if you're a parent, those are the things you never want to happen. If my child does something which the school felt it was necessary to take a course of action or a sanction, fine. If I don't think that's the right sanction, by the way, I never play the role of teacher with my children's teachers.
Oh.
I will always, the parent, I will listen to you and I'll let you tell me why you've done that. If I fundamentally disagree, I'll disagree, but I will never say because I do it this way or because we do it that way. But if they do that, there's a rationale for that, and I'm fine with that. I shouldn't need to get angry about those things, like you say. I should get angry, or we should get angry, and I mean angry in a kind of we need to really do something about it.
In a kind of political and activist
very
type
much so. Yeah, when things are going wrong for our children.
And
not just for the sake of annoying teachers and education workers, because that's just how we get our kick.
That's it. It's interesting what you said about, you're a parent with your teachers, with your sons. So I had a case with my older daughter. It was, people probably know that I'm Jewish, and so therefore my children are Jewish. And at her school, there was a special assembly on the Holocaust. And on the chairs, there was pictures of people who had died in Auschwitz. And my daughter picked one up and she started talking about it to the person next to her. She got told off and got a demerit, in inverted commas, for being disrespectful and anti-Semitic. So it came up on the system that my older daughter, O, had been disrespectful. So I rang up the school, because she's never, ever got a demerit before, and this is in her last year of school, saying, what's this about? And they talked me through it. And I said, you do know she's Jewish, right? Like, this was not her being disrespectful. She's never disrespectful. And they were like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, so you're telling me that the only Jewish girl in your school, you've given her a demerit in an assembly about Auschwitz? Like, I cannot get my head around this. It took all my energy to not post on X. All my energy. I was like, no, that's not appropriate, because actually it is about a school and these are my colleagues. Yeah. But I found it, when I spoke to the teacher, and I was just like, I'm ignoring that demerit. If she gets another demerit, and you know she won't, and she gets a detention, she's not doing that detention. I refuse to allow her. So that was me as a teacher, as a mum, just going, absolutely not. I was furious. I was incredulous. I was like, I've taken her to synagogues in Germany, in Romania. I've taken her to museums in Berlin about the Holocaust. We have family that have died in the Holocaust. There is no way she would have disrespected that. She was probably saying, I think she was saying to a friend, some of my family died in Auschwitz. But also, I think if you're going to, as a teacher, if you're going to put something that's meant to stimulate conversation,
let people talk.
Let people talk about it. It's outrageous. I've said this and that 3 times now. I'm furious. I'm really trying not to swear. Anyway, she didn't get another demerit, and she's never got a detention. So
what it strikes me is that the teacher didn't get the response they wanted. It strikes me that the teacher was trying to provoke a reaction of melancholy, sadness.
Yeah, of course.
Reflection. But actually, what you should be trying to provoke when it comes to things like the Holocaust, when it comes to the extermination of a race of people, is discourse. Because I know people who, my wife is a history teacher. For a long period of time, she spent a lot of time looking at the Holocaust, and because she was about to go on a trip to Auschwitz with her pupils, first time she'd ever been there. In fact, she'd only ever been there once. And for probably the 6 months before it and the 6 months after it, all she kept saying was, why? I can't understand why. Right? And she was searching for answers because it provoked conversation. It provoked thoughts and feelings, but it provoked the idea of trying to understand, trying to get to the bottom of how this happened to people. There are simple answers to that, but from a very human point of view, we ask ourselves why. It strikes me the teacher hasn't got the response they've wanted.
They don't understand it, actually. So, but sorry, I went off on a bit of a kind of tangent, but just I really find it hard to separate myself as a teacher and mum. And obviously my twins are going into primary school soon. So I've got to live it all over again. And I really struggle. But hopefully I'll be able to hold myself together as much and not be a pain in the backside parent. And to my daughter's primary school, I apologise in advance. I will really try hard. There
you go. We've given them a warning in advance.
Not that they listen to this podcast.
No, they might be one of the 72 or however many it was. Going back to you.
Interesting. Sorry. We had 600 views for our first podcast. We had loads and loads of views. And then loads of people went, nah, that's not for me.
I don't think that's what, I think what happened was we put something out and we chucked out a load of shorts that went with it.
That's true, Matt. You need to do the shorts. I don't have control or power over shorts. Only you have the power.
You say that, but I don't have the time, which is the same sort of thing, really. I could teach you, and you could do it, but then you'll tell me you haven't got the time either.
You have to charge.
Okay. Khalees. Was it Khalees?
Was it My Milkshake Brings All the Boys to the Yard?
Yeah.
Damn right. But also, whenever I hear that song, I see Family Guy. Have you seen the Family Guy episode when he does that?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, you can teach me. I'd be happy to learn. I'm sure I won't be as good. But also, you say you don't have time. How many hours do you spend creating theme parks?
Actually, you know what? My son actually came to me the other morning.
Where is my father?
No, he came to me the other morning and he said, I'm just going to try and have a look at it now. He said, do you know how many hours you've played on that game? So the game is called Planet Coaster 2. So for years, for my entire life, I've said on here, I love theme parks. I love video games. One of my greatest enjoyments is playing theme park video games. So going back as far as Theme Park Inc., Theme Park World, Roller Coaster Tycoon, now Planet Coaster. And Planet Coaster and Planet Coaster 2 are the zenith of theme park building. But it's a real rabbit hole because people build real creation. You can create photorealistic environments, worlds, buildings within this. What Sarah's referring to is the fact that I've probably spent, and I can tell you now because I'm looking at it on the screen, I've spent a lot of time building just like one building. And the building that I am building is the entrance to a theme park. But it's the most elaborate and involved and realistic looking building I've ever produced in that game. How many hours do you think I might have put into that game total?
Into the game? How long have you been playing it for?
It's been around for about 2 years. I've probably only had it for about a year and a bit of that time.
How's your World of Warcraft playing? Need to have some analysis.
You see, World of Warcraft, don't forget, World of Warcraft
taken aback.
Is 20 odd years. It's taken aback. I've got in World of Warcraft on one character alone, I have got something to the equivalent of 3 years on that one character. And when I say 3 years, I don't mean I have played it over 3 years. I mean I've played the total number of hours that would come to 3 years over a period of 20.
So I'm doing some maths.
Go on.
I think in the last... Maths is going to be really bad. And then people are going to be like, I've done this. I reckon you've done 400 hours.
Okay. And how much do you think I would have done in the last 2 weeks?
I reckon 14
I can bring the
hours.
games too. 14. Okay,
I think
so
14 hours.
In total, I have played 423 hours of Planet Coaster.
I was not far. I said 400.
It's good. It was a good guess. In the last 2 weeks...
I did some maths.
Very good. In the last 2 weeks alone, I've put in 55 hours.
So don't tell me you don't have enough time to do shorts.
That's outrageous. At the same time. I watch TV. I watch things at the same time.
Why don't you watch us and make it into a short?
Because I need the same computer. Right. I can't give something my attention, and you can't give two things your attention. You can't edit two things at the same time. I'm doing one thing whilst watching something else. The thing about editing the podcast is you have to actually listen to it because you have to cut out all the drivel that we also put in as much as keeping all the good stuff. We've coughed about 1,000 times in this episode, but nobody listened to it will know because I'll have cut it all out.
Well, now we've mentioned it. It's like he smokes, like 50 a day.
Yeah, I can't help myself.
So we went off on a tangent, and I don't want to kind of lose the seriousness of Mossbourne and Whitefield.
No.
But I suppose I wanted to take you up on something that we disagreed with last week. Not that we agree on everything at all. We spoke about complaints. And I think it's really important that parents feel able to complain about things and that there's pathways in which to complain. I know lots of those complaints can be unhelpful, take up time, be frustrating, not seem like they're particularly relevant. But I think what would be worse is if we don't get complaints and we have things like Mossbourne and Whitefield. There's a balance there, I'm sure, but I think I'd rather that we veered on the other side of having too many complaints than not getting the complaints that are really serious.
I don't disagree with you about complaints. You've got to have the ability to
I don't
learn
disagree
from
on
what's
that
happening.
point. Yeah.
No, not at all. So I said we could talk about this for hours and maybe we need a whole episode. Do you want me to give you my outright what the answer is? Because there is a very simple answer.
Bestow us with your answer.
Thank you. We just do what everybody else does, which is we need an ombudsman approach, which is you can't go to somebody and complain until you've gone through the official complaints channel. So if you were to take up a complaint in any other aspect of our lives in society, if you try to complain beyond the level that you should complain at, and they ask you if you've already put a complaint through the process, and you need to evidence that as well.
Yeah,
if you've done that, then there's a way to escalate your complaint.
I mean,
all for
in the NHS you have PALs, don't you? I complain.
Yeah, local authority ombudsman, all of these things, they exist.
Yeah, I mean, local authority just wouldn't have capacity. They're already dealing with an inordinate amount of complaints about SEND and everything else, aren't they? And elective home education, and that would be unmanageable. But even if a trust had a kind of particular kind of avenue in it, then it doesn't have to go through the school. If they don't feel the school's going to listen to them, it can come from a trust level.
But you need to have within the system the same thing that we have within our organisation. So, for example, as a trust leader, I get complaints come to me because people feel it's so serious that I'm or somebody at our level is the only person who can deal with it.
But then you can't escalate it up.
but there is no escalation process. So even though I represent a trust level within our complaints process, all complaints are dealt with at school. The only complaint that we would deal with at trust level is if the complaint was about the head teacher. And that is not a complaint about their decision making. Because that's the school still. It's a complaint about them in terms of conduct or behaviour or something else of that nature. The complaints about the processes of the school belong to the school. And most complaints processes don't allow you to escalate to the trust. Why should they? Because if you can manage with it at that level, and again, go back to what I said before, most complaints get dealt with at the classroom level, especially in special and in primary, when you have a consistent classroom teacher. It's really easy to deal with at that level and keep it very amicable. There's this perceived reality of, well, there's a multi-academy trust involved, so I'm just going to send that straight to the CEO or straight to the trust board chair. And that's not the process. That's not what that trust's there to do. Now, a trust might have an escalation process that takes it from the school into the trust, but that's down to them as an individual school or trust to do. They don't have to do that. They can do it whichever way they want. There's this perceived thing about lots of processes that have to be done a certain way, and that's not necessarily the case. But because of that lack of clarity, because of that lack of understanding, we end up with that scattergun approach, which is why I said, if you take an ombudsman approach, there's your clarity. You go through the process,
kind of through route, and it's really clear.
Yeah, and you could have a trust level ombudsman, you can have, or a local authority ombudsman, and then something on that. What we do absolutely have to stop, though, is complaints going to Ofsted, because as much as I've been sat in a room listening to Ofsted repeatedly say, we do not investigate complaints, I've sat in 3 unannounced Ofsted inspections in the last 10 months that have all been, as a direct result of a single complaint to Ofsted from a parent. And I've been involved in Ofsteds where, in that time, where Ofsted come in and all they have done is investigated that complaint. So don't stand there and say we don't do it, because you absolutely do.
Because why? Because it suggests, because Mossbourne and Whitefields must have got complaints to Ofsted and the local authority, Lado, and so on.
Okay, so if you look at the Waltham, I'll show I actually did some research here. Again,
well done.
That's twice in one episode. With the Waltham Forest one, my understanding is the closure of that room, those let's call it seclusion. It's not isolation. Those seclusion rooms were because of an Ofsted inspection in 2017. And what is also flagged is the idea that there were complaints raised prior to that weren't taken on board. So it could have been stopped earlier. It wasn't. And it was only Ofsted's intervention in 2017 that those rooms then got closed down. So you're right. You're right that there must have been complaints in there.
Yeah.
Again, though, the problem is the scattergun approach means they all go to the wrong place.
But it's interesting that there was a response with Ofsted. And I think what happened as well is they might have closed and they said that there were no videos about it or something like that. And then they found 500 hours of CCTV footage. So that kind of came afterwards. I mean, we could talk about information governance, but that's not really the point, which kind of gave evidence to what was going on.
Yeah.
And distress of children that don't have the ability to talk.
No, and that's just good safeguarding process, that future leaders to that school found USB drives with 500 hours worth of footage.
Yeah.
And then took action. That's good safeguarding governance in place there, good safeguarding leadership in place, exactly what you want within the system. It's a worry that the previous leaders, the previous people working in that organisation didn't see that.
Interesting, not all of them. Yeah, so there were some that had it was clear that they'd done it in terms of pulling children into the room. I don't think all of them lost their jobs either.
And there were no criminal charges brought.
But you have that, don't you? Because we care less as a society for children with learning disabilities.
Yeah. And it's weirdly becoming typical that because of the nature of how systemic these things can end up being, you don't see any criminal charges or convictions being brought against anybody, because effectively you'd have to bring it against so many people and then all the layers above them who didn't act and should have known. And on and on and on. So it's I mean, that one is probably sad in the sense of it took that long for them to truly understand what had happened. Ofsted come along in 2017 and say this has got to come to an end and kind of pretty much condemn everything that's going on there. The true reality is years in the making. That's a really sad state of affairs. Thank you for listening to the latest episode of Nothing to Bring. It's a real pleasure. Thank you for joining us. Go back, listen to some of our older stuff. There are some corkers in there that probably haven't been listened to by a lot of people. I think a lot of people have missed Politician versus Wrestler, and a lot of people have missed Shakespeare versus Star Trek, which are two of the greatest games we've ever had on this platform. Go back and look at those.
Sorry, I've just got another game called Nigel Farage versus Gold Cut, one of the characters from Deep Space Nine. But I've decided not to do that one until next week, probably, or the week after.
There you go. So that's coming up in a few weeks on Nothing to Bring. Thank you very much. Like, subscribe, go back, listen to the rest of the episodes that have come before. There's only 15 others to listen to. It won't take you that long. It's just in your car. Why not? Anyway, from us,
I'm Sarah Johnson.
I'm Matt Morris, and we have
Nothing to Bring.